30 years.
Good morning.
And so I'll stop.
Welcome to the 10:30 a.m. Wednesday, July 23rd. We're in the UED. Item number 1, I call this meeting to order. Item number 2, and please correct me if I say this wrong, because I probably will. Rachel Wilson. Are you here? Did I say it right? Raquel, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Appointment to the Greater Tulsa Area African American Affairs Commission, filling a vacant seat. Term expires May 1st, 2028, excuse me. Raquel, thank you for coming this morning. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for having me today. It's been a pleasure to be in Tulsa for the past 7 years. Although I'm originally from Ohio, my grandfather grew up here in North Tulsa, so it feels like an ancestral recalling. What brought me here to Tulsa was being a teacher with Teach for America and then serving as development director for that school system. Now being an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur here in Tulsa, really has me interested in not only serving our business community, but also our African American community that makes up such a large part of the Black Wall Street and Black Tech Street history.
All right, thank you. Thank you for coming back to Tulsa and lending your talents. Counselors?
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
District 1, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so glad to have you. Thank you.
Raquel, thank you for coming in this morning. Your confirmation will be on our July 30th, 5 p.m. agenda. You're more than welcome to attend if you so choose.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Have a good day.
I'll be seeing you.
Okay, item number 3, William J. Stava, reappointment to the Tulsa Airport Authority. Term expires April 30th, 2027. Attended 40 of 51 meetings. That's certainly not perfect, sir. And it comes from Council District 2.
Yes.
Morning.
Good morning.
So tell us about yourself, Jeff. Well, most of us here know you. Tell us about yourself for those who don't and why you want to continue serving.
Well, I'm a near lifelong Tulsan. I moved here when I was about 3 years old. Went to Jeans High School. Worked at the Tulsa Community Foundation, George Kaiser Family Foundation. I've been on the airport board for 12 years. I have a lot of experience in construction, and we do a lot of construction projects at the airport, as you know. Just finished the terminal projects and the new parking garage, and now building the tower and the new international gates. So I'm able to lend a lot of that experience, plus business experience, to help the airport and help the city.
Well, obviously, we're all grateful for your continuing to serve our community. Counselors, any other questions or comments? Counselor Bush.
Yes.
When do I get a direct flight to Rome?
Rome.
For our international airport.
You say
Europe
to
would
ask
be a
me-
little tough, but we're focusing right now on Mexico and Canada. Those are kind of the adjacent international flight opportunities that we have, where we have, one of the things you have to do is you have to look at the number of seats we sell to various places, and you want to look at the number of seats over the full year. So places like Cancun and Cabo and Mexico City and Montreal and Vancouver are opportunities, initial opportunities for us for our international. We will now be able to accept tour companies, so large tour companies can do international flights in and out of TUL now. So I think that will open up some more opportunities for international travel.
You have to charter a flight. We'll all go together.
Well, I know.
I think if Counselor Gilbert was here, she would be like, oh, we still have to
Alaska
get to
first.
Alaska
Yeah.
first.
But Canada's
Nonstop
not-
flights has been a real big focus for us at the airport, and we raised about $6 million for a minimum revenue guarantee flight program, which has helped us get the LAX, the DC, and
New
the
York.
LaGuardia flights, direct flights. And we're still now focusing on, Seattle, San Francisco, and Boston. That's where our focus is now. So, it's real important. It's the lifeblood of the community as far as business development, but also recruitment of talent, and then also just connectivity for our business owners and the traveling public here in Tulsa too. So connectivity is important.
Yep.
Well, but not only are great things happening on the north side, but you have Riverside that's happening, one of the busiest, if not the busiest in the state.
Yeah, all the flight training schools, if
Right.
you have a flight app on your phone, you can see all those flight trainers at night and during the
Sure.
day that are taking off and landing. It makes that airport, one of the top 5
busiest.
airports in the US.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Jeff, thanks for coming this morning. Your confirmation as well will be on our July 30th at 5, so,
I'm sure it'll be controversial.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it will. So thanks again for
Okay.
coming in today.
Thank you all very much.
Continuing to serve.
Uh-huh.
Okay, moving on to item 4, ordinance amending the fiscal year 25-26 budget to transfer unencumbered and unexpended appropriation balances of $1,155,186.35, can't forget about the change, between projects within the 2014 sales tax fund, residual balances to small area planning. Good morning, Jared.
Jared Moore from Budget. This project, or this transfer is just rolling in remaining balances into that corridor and small area planning project. The projects are deemed complete or, substantiated from other efforts, and the money is gonna be used for rolling into the new NICE plan, the Neighborhood Condition Index. That's the long and the short of it.
Any questions, comments?
They need the money. That's great.
Item number 5, ordinance amending the fiscal year 2025-26 budget to make supplemental appropriations of $20,000 recognized from grant revenues to be received from Oklahoma Department of Homeland Security within Homeland Security Program Subfund. We're gonna have 3 new rescue boats for Tulsa Urban Search and Rescue.
Not technically new, they will be new, but we
Hey,
have
that's
them-
what it says, Jared.
I know. I like to
And
contradict
I want that
myself.
deal,
Yeah.
that you can get 3 boats for 20 grand.
I know.
When we deployed firefighters to the hurricane in North Carolina, 3 of them were damaged, had to be left there, and so this was the Fed's way of reimbursing us for those boats. So we
Oh,
purchased
okay.
3 new ones to replace the damaged ones.
Okay, perfect. Any questions or comments? All right, item number 6, ordinance amending the fiscal year 25-26 budget to make supplemental appropriations of $6,163,724 recognized from grant revenues to be received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development within the Home American Rescue Plan Subfund. And this is concerning Tulsa Housing Authority Hilltop Project.
I'm going to punt and invite Mr. Williams up here on this one. He'll be able to
Morning, Reese.
give much more detailed responses.
Morning, councillors.
Morning.
Good morning to you.
Hey, Jared punted to you, so it's yours.
Okay.
You're the star.
So, back in 2022, as part of the American Rescue Plan Act, the city received additional home dollars. We had to submit a home ARP plan. We did that. Then we kind of did this backwards to our usual process. The council and the mayor approved all the funding going towards new affordable housing, and then a small portion of it being used for case management to the people that will eventually end up in those units. We did an RFP process. The only applicant was THA for the Hilltop project, which is a replacement of the old Sunset Plaza unit. We've been working with THA since then. They now, we cannot enter into an agreement with anybody until they're fully funded. So this year they got the tax credit, so the project is fully funded. So this action just appropriates the dollars so we can actually enter into a contract with them.
Counselor Dr. Wright.
Thanks. Are these home dollars time bound?
We have to spend them by
26?
No, 2030.
2030, okay.
September 30, 2030.
Okay. Great.
And again, you said it's primarily for services?
No, it's so
Is it for development?
the majority, like
Capital.
5 million, is carved out to go towards the actual construction.
Rebuilding, okay.
And then there's a small portion, about 500,000 that's going towards
Program?
like case management
Case
to like help those people once they're in the units.
Okay.
And you don't work for the housing authority, but Hilltop is permanent supportive housing.
It's kind of a mixture. So the home ARP, when they came out, they kind of mashed together home and ESG. So these units that, it's about 109 units, of which I think about 10 will be home ARP units. And they are for people that were homeless or at risk of being homelessness, at risk of homelessness. So those will be used for that. And then I believe the rest are all going to be like project voucher based units.
I'm very excited about this.
So this is not another RAD program, where you're gonna have all those housing options in there?
I do not believe so.
Thought it was.
I think they're all rad now.
Well, I know that they were moving towards that, but I don't know. if they
I don't think it's mixed income, but I can check on that.
Well, I can call them myself, yeah.
Yeah, because I was curious, my other question was, how did they find the other half of the other part of the funding? And, you said it was tax credits, okay,
Tax rates, yeah.
okay.
All right. 109 units closer to that 13,000 goal. I mean, sorry. No, we need the little ticker, I think, every time we have a conversation.
We do have a
Okay,
ticker.
we need to
Sure.
put,
Yeah.
We do need to do it.
Yeah,
need
there
to
is a
do it.
ticker.
Yeah, I'm interested in what the timeline is, but maybe it's THA.
yeah, that's true, we need the
That's the THA.
attrition rate as well.
Okay, moving on to item 7. Ordinance approving and adopting the Crutchfield Neighborhood Economic Development Project Plan. I am not reading this whole thing, sorry. Naming increment District A as increment District Number 24, City of Tulsa, and establishing a date for the creation thereof, deferring the naming and the date for the creation of increment districts B, C, D, E, and F. Let's see, adopting certain findings and authorizing the City of Tulsa and the Tulsa Authority for Economic Opportunity as the entities that carry out and administer the project plan, establishing tax apportionment fund, declaring apportioned funds to be special funds, ratifying and confirming the actions, recommendations, and findings of the review committee and the TMAPC, directing continuing apportionment. Public hearing is, looks like July 30th and August 27th.
Yep.
Morning, Mike.
Good morning, counselors. Mike Dickerson, Partner Tulsa. I'm standing in for Aaron Persley, who would normally be talking with you about this today. I just want to say thank you again for supporting the Crutchfield project as we've moved all the way through this very long process. No, Counselor Hall-Harper can attest to how long this has actually been going on. This is the culmination of about 10 years' worth of work that has been going on within that particular neighborhood. This TIF district does have 6 increment districts that are being proposed. You should all have a copy of the project plan in front of you. And as Counselor said, the public hearing on this is proposed for the 30th. All of the materials related to this project plan, as well as the findings, are on the City of Tulsa's website, cityoftulsa.org/TIF, as well as the Partner Tulsa website. We've had very good interaction so far with everybody that we have spoken to inside the neighborhood, as well as developers that are interested in doing some of the projects that are kind of not necessarily planned out, but scoped within the budget for the district. So we're looking forward to advancing a new tool for Crutchfield. Be happy to answer any questions you have about this or the process or anything else.
Exciting.
Counselor Hall-Harper, any comments?
Nope, I'm ready to vote.
Well, that's a good sign. That's
Counselor
right.
So I can't remember what action we took 2 or 3 months ago, where we were ready to take action and then we pulled
Yes.
it back because
Yes, sir.
something hadn't been done. We don't have any
No,
issues
so
like that.
yes, the issue you're talking about would have been the resolution to advance
the Local Development Act Review Committee so that we could begin the process of going through this. And yes, that's been resolved.
Okay.
There was a typo in the budget that caught Stewart's attention that was subsequently fixed, and.
Yeah, no typos in
No.
any kind of, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. We're getting closer to the vote in August.
Fingers are crossed.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
Mike, thank you. Well, that was painless. All right, item number 8. Counselor declaration to recuse from. Presentation from and discussion with representatives of the Art Commission regarding the fiscal year 2025 26 proposed vision for the arts program and the impact of past vision arts programs. Good morning, sir.
Hey, how are you?
How y'all doing?
Thank you. Good morning. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Good. My name is Obum Kabam, and I am on the Arts Commission. I've been serving since 2023, and I am now serving as the Vision Arts 7 Chair. So just for some context today, we will be going over updates to the Vision Arts program and some of the changes. I will not be discussing the detailed impact and results of the Vision Arts 6. That's for the previous Vision Arts 6. That's another presentation in the future. So today I'll be going over some of the changes. So I welcome any questions at the end as well. All right, so it's been an honor to serve, and kind of why I stepped in. I stepped into this role because I've seen firsthand how powerful the arts can be for Tulsa. As an artist here in Tulsa who's collaborated with arts organizations and programs across Tulsa, I've seen two recurring needs: clearer pathways to funding and stronger grant writing skills for small organizations. My aim as Visiting Arts Chair is to expand outreach and education so that groups who have applied and been rejected, sometimes more than once, get practical guidance to succeed, not only with Vision Arts, but with other grants citywide. So we want to make sure we're ensuring that ensure access to helpful resources for all creative organizations, support education, entertainment, and community engagement through the arts, keep Tulsa's thriving arts scene growing as an economic driver for the city, and we want to strengthen local funding as state and federal arts support declines. Continuing improving Vision's application and feedback process so grantees can thrive in future grant competitions. Quickly, what is Vision Arts for anybody who's not familiar at this point? Vision Arts is the arts arm of the Vision Tulsa sales tax package approved by voters in 2016. Each year, $150,000 is set aside through 2031 to fund competitive project-based grants that spark economic development. So eligible applicants are Tulsa-based 501c3 organizations or those with a qualified fiscal sponsor. In past cycles, we've helped launch festivals, public art, and programs that brought visitors into our neighborhoods and businesses, and we want that momentum to continue. This cycle, our goal is to also to post short how-to videos, step-by-step budget templates, and plain language FAQs. The goal is that an applicant should never drop out because the process feels intimidating. So let's jump into what's new this year. So we've kept the foundation of the program, but made 3 key improvements. Number 1 is the mandatory info session for first-time and never-funded applicants. This levels the playing field and reduces incomplete submissions. So one thing I've observed is, as somebody who's applied for grants or watching this cycle and the previous cycles, a lot of organizations may apply, they may get rejected, and then that opportunity to have feedback or that learning part is sometimes lost, right? And so on both sides. So I wanted to make sure that rather than keep applying, keep getting rejected, which can feel limiting, can feel very dismissive. I wanted to have a conversation in the beginning, right, to cover some of these things, cover some of the past feedback that we're seeing for these organizations that have applied. Some of them are saying, hey, I'm going to just apply for $50,000 and hopefully they give me 5, and that's not a good practice, right? So we want to make sure, rather than just reject and give feedback opportunities that are not taken, we want to make sure that these organizations are learning and are guiding them, because our goal is not just for this grant. We want to make great grant writers all over Tulsa. You know, we want these organizations to be strong so they can get federal support, state support, and just, locally. So we want to make sure that they're become good applicants. So that's part of our goal. Let's see, so also our IRP, our independent review panel, we want to get this seated by October 31st. So we give reviewers more than 10 weeks to read and score proposals. So last time, it kind of gets tough sometimes for the independent review panel to, score all these, things in a quick time period. So we want to make sure we try to get the review panel seated by the 31st. And so they have about a 10-week process. So that's one of the things I want to make sure that the independent review panel process goes a little bit smoother. And clear guidelines with no new restrictions, just plain language consolidation. I put some examples in there. For instance, our food costs capped at 15% of the grant budget. The headquarters must be inside Tulsa city limits, and the projects must use ADA-compliant Tulsa venues. And all eligible expenses gathered into one easy-to-find table. So again, these are not, some of this wording is just clearer now, for organizations. Again, we want them to make sure they have a clearer path and access to this funding. Moving forward, we want to activate today, so you can, approval today releases the next $150,000 for Cycle 7. Those dollars will translate into visitor spending, neighborhood vitality, and jobs across Tulsa. With your support, we open applications on October 1st, seek the review panel by Halloween, and bring funding recommendations to you next spring. With state and federal arts shrinking, this $150,000 is sometimes the only catalyst. It's only catalyst money small groups can access. So one well-placed grant can unlock matching support and volunteer momentum and worth many times our investment. And I'll end on this. One of the reasons I'm still in Tulsa and I love Tulsa and enjoying Tulsa because this is a thriving arts city. But it also connects our young ones to everything that we're doing, right? And so even in arts, we need it as a great tool, right? But we also, workforce development, how can we make this thriving city, how can we connect it more to workforce development? Unfortunately, we lost one of our fine arts students this week. And so I know he's very active in theater and doing arts, and so I would like to continue the journey for people like him because I want to build a city where he feels he can stay and be successful here and thrive here. So I want to, in his honor, continue to do that for our students here in Tulsa and for all the artists who need a voice and also would like to help push this city forward. So I welcome any questions at this time. Thank you.
So I think it's great that even in the 7th iteration of this, you're still continuing to improve the process and make it more accessible for folks who've never done this. Because if I had to sit down and write a grant, I probably wouldn't do it.
Absolutely.
'Cause I'm sure it's an intimidating process for anybody who's never done it before. So thank you for continuing to evolve your process. All right, we'll start with Counselor Dunn.
I want to tell you thank you so much. That consideration for the IRP 10-week is phenomenal. That's going to be really helpful.
I appreciate it.
I know that it was really down to the wire when I was reviewing.
Yes.
It was a bit overwhelming, so that's fantastic. I'm also very pleased with the diversity I see now.
Yes.
And it makes me really want to engage thoroughly as I think the perspective going forward is going to be embracing new art mediums and not so much concentrating on the typical art considerations from the past. So that's really exciting going forward, and I appreciate that. The diversity is just exciting. And the ability to be able to create that space for those voices that would normally not be heard. That's so important because we do have a really vibrant art community that entails various cultures. And to bring those cultures to the table as the commission has is exciting.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for that. So thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation. And good luck with this iteration.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I look
Okay.
forward to it so much.
Thank you.
On to item 9, presentation and discussion with representatives from the Leaders Fellowship on housing-focused policy reform. Other than discussion, no action will be taken. This is brought to us by Counselors Archie and Bellis. Counselor?
Sure.
Lead us up.
Absolutely. I want to welcome our guests to the table. Councilor Bellis also, obviously he's not here, but as we talked about earlier, housing challenges here in Tulsa, we want to address them and want to bring our esteemed guests to talk about their perspective. And so, please feel free.
Can I add one thing? Sorry, Gene couldn't be here today, and so I'm his proxy on this. So they'll describe to you their program and everything and recommendations that they've made. And just to kind of clarify the presentation, I think you're in a 6-week program, a 7-week program. And so this is a component of their program, presenting what they've worked on. And so you may see some familiar themes of things that you all have considered or are actively considering. So this isn't in lieu of your kind of collective work that you've been working on, but in support of and supplementary to that. So on behalf of the housing staff too. I'm the only one that could make the meetings.
Thanks, Sarah.
Well, they're doing other important things though. Yeah.
Thank you guys for giving us your attention. My name is Leah. My partner Jax here and I are fellows with the Urban Leaders Fellowship, like was mentioned, which is a 7-week national policy fellowship that matches fellows with local elected officials and nonprofit partners to advance policy areas across an array of issues like public safety, education, homelessness, and our particular issue area, which is housing. So over the course of the summer, we've been fortunate enough to be partnered with Gene Wilmatch, the Mayor's Office, and Housing Forward, sitting in that back corner, to help advance Mayor Monroe's policy goals to close the housing supply gap. So we've had the privilege of learning a lot about Tulsa through conversations with various stakeholders, both inside and outside the city, and we're really excited to share some of the insights that we've gathered with you guys today.
So speaking of things that you already know, already brought up, the 13,000 unit housing gap on the left, and then on the right, it sort of unabstracts that to what that looks like yearly, which I'm sure you're also all aware of. The need is to build what that 55% is. It's 460 more homes per year on average from here to the end of that gap. And part of the theme of this presentation is sort of unabstracting what the actual housing challenges in existing capacity are in Tulsa. So on the left, you can see just a very simple pie chart that shows the total 19,000 acres of identified vacant land in Tulsa, broken up by what is currently zoned for non-residential and what is currently zoned for residential. So where people, if they could, are more likely to build a house on. So that number already gets smaller based on estimates that, if anything, at this moment are overestimating what the actual vacant acreage is, as they don't yet account for environmental conditions. And this is ongoing work, but so far, this is what we have. And if you look on the right, that breaks down the residential zone vacant acreage by what it is more specifically. And so you can see, again, what you're all aware of is that most of the available residential zoning in Tulsa is single family, and most of what is vacant acreage is also single family. So on the left is that same graph, and on the right is some work done by the Flintlock Labs T-Town home catalog. They're working with the city on the pre-approved permitting process. And what they did was identify in those red spaces on the map acreage where it is, they had deemed it favorable for missing middle housing, which just means it's on currently zoned land that is conducive to more housing choice development, and on areas of that land that are actual, or have actually quality infrastructure to support more affordable housing development that doesn't require additional inputs. And so you can see that number is more scarce than the less than 1,000 acres of which is actually available for more residential, multifamily, and more housing choice development. If that's the scope of the overall problem, a couple other barriers to actually closing that gap is, as you all are very, very keenly aware, there is a rapidly increasing need for housing in Tulsa. I'm sure it's an issue that crosses all of your plates every single day. The longer this issue is around, the bigger it gets. The bigger it gets, the harder it is to solve, and the more opportunity costs there are to Tulsa's growth and development and your communities. So it's a problem that's, as hard as it is to solve fast, is still best to be solved fast before it snowballs. In the process, there are some developer pains, and while there have been lots of previous and still ongoing efforts to sort of quantify and identify what and where those pains emanate from, it's still ongoing, and the bottom line is that at least some developers are experiencing at least some problems somewhere on the line of construction and development that could be avoided, but that is itself not a problem that is going to be solved fast. And as you just saw, the existing zoning across Tulsa is not exactly favorable to the missing middle housing construction, sort of created in the framework presented earlier. And what housing there is that is currently zoned, or what zones there are that are favorable to that missing middle housing type, are more scarce than some of the initial data readings of vacant lots and vacancies would have you believe. So we are overall presenting that there's a need to take high impact incremental steps. The planning department has been working for years, as you've all seen, to clean up the zoning code and make really impressive, really creative changes to it, but it is a process that takes a long time, has taken a long time, will still take a long time, and that happens everywhere. There is no quick way to fully create a perfect zoning code that is conducive to the type of development that Tulsa needs to achieve its goals. So the need for incremental, high-impact changes, while there's a lot of momentum around housing, is something that we're advocating as counselors you really be open to, because there is just no silver bullet to fix all of the housing issues.
Yeah, so to kind of illustrate Jax's point, we'd like to showcase two cities who both aim to change their zoning code. The first is South Bend, Indiana, who did this successfully, and the second one is Austin, Texas, their Code Next program. So South Bend was the successful case. In this example, they really engaged in community-led incremental changes to their zoning code. So you can see up there on that first bullet, they sponsored developer meetups and virtual trainings for community members and small businesses to understand how they were looking to reinvest and revitalize their neighborhoods. Ultimately, they were able to change their zoning code to allow for more affordable multifamily housing, and they have most recently 50 new infill residential units and a very large affordable apartment complex built. So you look at that as a success case in contrast with Austin's Code Next, who also had the same goal of increasing density, but unfortunately a lawsuit was filed against the city, which we don't want. Everyone's shaking their head. Yeah, we don't. But there are some community members that thought that their rights to notification were violated because every single resident wasn't notified of a zoning change that would affect them. So ultimately Code Next was halted and then invalidated after 6 years of development. So it is often pointed to as an example of too many changes too quickly can actually slow the process down instead of making it faster. So if we agree that the incremental approach is a good one, I'd like to present the first of two small but high-impact zoning changes. The first is developing faith-based organization housing, which you all probably are aware of, but if you're not, faith-based housing is just housing that's developed on land that is owned by faith-based organizations, and that can include churches, temples, mosques, synagogues, etc. And this opportunity has really come about as we've seen church membership decline since COVID, and there are lots of members who have switched to remote services. So meanwhile, the cost for managing these properties have increased, and so we're looking at an increase in blight potentially in the city. So these factors combined with the need for housing really presents an opportunity for churches to stay open while developing affordable housing on tax-exempt land. And this is not a new story, as serving the less fortunate has long been a part of the Christian ministry, and it really is a win-win for churches and all religious organizations. They'd be able to act on their mission to serve the communities where they exist while also strengthening their financial position. So I'd also like to present some legislation that's leading the way in this area. While San Diego coined the term in 2025, Senator Sherrod Brown introduced the Yes in God's Backyard Act, or YIGBY Act, which is fun, to support these types of projects across the country. And since then, more states like California and Washington have gotten on board, and cities like Atlanta, San Diego, San Antonio, and Detroit have also adopted measures to allow FBO housing development, largely in the form of technical assistance, streamlining permitting approval, and in that last bullet, it was pretty cool. They allowed the faith-based organizations to use parking lots for affordable housing development. So what does this look like here in Tulsa? Currently, we have over 2,000 acres of land owned by religious organizations, with the large majority being churches. And as reflected in what Jax was saying, the majority of land is located in residential single-family zoning districts. We've also included a chart of FBO land broken out by council district, with District 3 holding the most land, followed by 1 and 6. And again, as we're emphasizing a community-led approach, it's important to note that there is a lot of local momentum among churches here in Tulsa who have expressed interest or are currently in the redevelopment process. So specifically, we'd like to suggest a zoning overlay that would, and I know thinking an overlay is the last thing we need, but it would really apply to FBOs who are looking to opt in to this kind of development and make it easier for them if they so choose. And this could be provided that they meet building regulations that are made in partnership with the planning office. There's some examples on the screen there of what that could look like, but it's really an opportunity for the city to tailor zoning and building regulations to meet the mayor's housing goals. And here's some examples of overlays and zoning amendments that are happening in other cities. As you can see, they're smaller cities, and I just like to call out what Antioch, California is doing. The picture on the right is a picture of cottage communities, which, if you're not aware, is just small dwellings that are located on the same lot that share a communal space, sometimes a green space, and that is what was allowed to be developed on FBO land through the Antioch overlay. So it can really be tailored to whatever works best. And with over 1,000 faith-based organizations in Tulsa, the city really has an opportunity to lead at the larger municipal level. And now I'm going to pass it on to Jax.
And for our second example of what an incremental policy change can look like, something you're definitely all familiar with is more ADUs. So what the landscape currently looks like of ADUs in Tulsa and what is allowed, they're allowed by right in most every zone. However, the zones in which they're not allowed by right account for about 95% of that vacant acreage and a proportionate amount to the non-vacant acreage across Tulsa. So while it is, on one hand, good that they are allowed by right in many zones, if most of the zones aren't what actual Tulsa housing needs are, then there might need to be a little bit of change in this direction. And they are also allowed by right in every single overlay. This does sort of beg the question of, are people who live in these zones in which ADUs are not allowed to be built by right building ADUs or requesting they be built? So this chart breaks down the last year of ADU special exception requests made to the Board of Adjustment. There were 20 individual cases from June 24 to June 25. They took up cumulatively 32 agenda items, which was about 15% of the entire Board of Adjustment caseload over the last year. None of these cases were ever denied throughout the process. Only 2 of them were withdrawn, and on average, that process per case took about 3 weeks, or 1.6 Board of Adjustment meetings. Some of them took up to 2 months of Board of Adjustment's time, citizens' time, everyone's time to get across. It's worth noting that 8 of these special exception requests included variances for larger ADUs as well. So people are looking to build ADUs, and they're looking to build them a bit more flexibly than the current zoning allows for. Most of which also, as you can see in the graph, are occurring in districts 4 and 9. And you all know how to, the avenues better than we do by which to allow for more ADUs to be able by right. Allowing them by right in residential zones is the easiest way, and that doesn't even have to look like a blanket application though. If you were to break it up by residential zones, for example, if you only allowed ADUs by right in RS 3 and up, that would account for about 50% of the cases brought to the board last year. So that would be a huge impact that could be made very easily. You could expand.
3 to 1 or 3 the other way? Was 3 enough mean?
3 and up, RS 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to make sure I was going the right direction, Mike, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Expand the existing overlays as they are allowed by right, and as you saw, most of these requests are coming from districts 4 and 9, and again, this is just in the last year. This data hasn't really been accumulated like this before, so there might be work on this in the future to show you what the greater landscape of this over time has looked like. But as counselors, you could choose to strategically apply these overlays to meet the demand across your districts where there's actual need. And doing both in any way you can just saves time and money of private citizens, so that's the Board of Adjustment. That's the people bringing these cases to the Board of Adjustment, and that's all of your time as well. And that's all the money and issues involved, just saved.
Awesome. So just quickly wrap up. We know there's a significant gap between Tulsa's housing capacity and Tulsa's existing housing needs. And we believe that incremental, high-impact improvements will eventually lead to systemic change for the city.
And to just sort of reiterate our two examples of policy shifts or policy areas, allowing faith-based organizations to develop affordable housing on their land in a way that sort of circumvents a lot of the process that prevents some of it from happening already or removes some of the development restrictions, is a really neat opportunity for the city because, again, there are faith-based community leaders and communities that are trying to do this themselves. And there is obviously a need for this type of housing creativity to move forward. And so this isn't just an idea that comes out of the blue, and it's a way that Tulsa can really lead, as by example. And then if you were to allow ADUs by right, you could change up to 15% of the Board of Adjustment administrative burden. Because again, there is demand for ADUs, and there is certainly an opportunity to support them.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so we'll take any.
Counselor Dr. Wright.
Thank you for this. Glad to see Urban Leaders Fellowship still working on the municipal side. Councilor Hall Harper and I have worked with cohorts since the pandemic, and housing has always been on there, so it's good to see that it continues. I would just want to bring up, because I don't think I heard it, Oklahoma City just passed what they call their backyard dwellings ordinance in May that opens up by right in the way that they're talking about. And so that is something that I've already had on my kind of radar to explore and see how we might adopt some of that into what we're trying to do here. I also think in the Cathedral District south of downtown that some of these faith-based large churches are looking at doing some of this in conjunction with TCC, if I'm not mistaken, to do some housing. So we'll have a proof of concept, I hope, coming, on some of what we're talking about. Of course, the tiny home village that's going in North Tulsa is on Catholic Charities owned donated land to that project. I did have a question for you all on the NIMBY aspect. So when we had our Urban Leaders Fellow in 2020, they specifically researched how to counteract some of the NIMBY that just happens. And it was community-based and community-led. And so did you, in this research that you conducted, was it primarily just focusing on the religious institutions, or was there any evidence outside of that, of how we kind of do a community-led process that you saw?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was primarily focused on religious institutions.
Okay.
So it didn't really look outside of that scope.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Wish I had.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me, and we can use the Tiny Home Village as the example, when you have a nonprofit that has the land, it didn't just magically get approved. Counselor Hall-Harper literally door knocked those neighborhoods, and it was very high touch. So I think we just need to be realistic on, even if the zoning's right and the heart is right and the dollars are right, like it still takes that community engagement. And if those of you that remember kind of those very contentious meetings, I mean, we're getting there, and I think now there's a lot of buy-in, but it's gonna take us helping to facilitate those conversations
And the organization.
and the organization.
They walked, they had to walk the neighborhood with me.
Yeah,
Not just-
absolutely.
Not just me by myself.
Yeah.
But I'm done. I'm not doing no more. Everybody else around here need to do them.
Oh, you're done with taking them into your community?
Yeah, I'm done. Everybody else need to. It's not a District 1 problem.
Right,
It's a Tulsa
no,
problem.
correct. So that's what I'm saying, is like, we have good examples outside our community, but within our community of how it can work. But I would love to get a copy of that map that you all put up with the kind of identified areas. I think that's something we had asked from the previous administration, and I don't know if they ever got it done, but just so we can start looking at where to focus our, right, instead of just casting like a wide net.
What map?
There was a
Did
map
I
with like
miss it?
2 big circles.
Saw the
around it.
graphs.
I think, yeah, they might be in there.
They're
in our appendix.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, I wasn't
But
here.
if,
I'm still making my way back in.
yeah, I would just like that map so that we can like kind of zoom in and see more specifically those areas that have the,
This is available in the overall presentation that Flintlock has presented and given to the city.
Okay.
There's 2 versions of it. There's one that's available on the internet, it's 65 pages.
is there one that we can like zoom in and see what those red blocks are?
You can't, not on their PDF, it can't zoom in
Yeah.
very far, so that way we can certainly facilitate more than get
Or,
you.
I mean, it doesn't have to be you, I'm just kind of, okay, I see Tyler. Because right now that's very general, but I'd like to like see like neighborhood level.
Yes.
Because when we talk about community led, perhaps neighborhood leaders, residents, business owners can be leading the conversation, rather than us coming in and saying, we've determined your neighborhood is great for duplexes or tiny homes. Right? But I appreciate getting this granularity, and also realizing that the BOA continues to be a discussion about how it's best utilized its time. As I look at.
And Chris.
As I look at
Are you looking at me?
Counselor Bangle, who loves the BOA.
Yeah. Counselor Dunn.
I have to also agree with the sentiment that Counselor Dr. Wright in a more detailed map as well.
Looks like Tyler maybe can help
Yeah.
us there.
Simply because District 3 seems to have the most acreage available, which is my district. But I'm also concerned with the question of NIMBYism, which is huge. And I'm also concerned with faith-based. I'm not sure why we're depending more and more, and yet I feel like they should have been already involved anyway. I know that during our winter seasons, we have a huge demand for low barrier shelters, and we've only had one actual faith-based organization, step up to create these shelters. And talking about 1,000 religious-based organizations within Tulsa, I'm a little surprised that we're creating incentives when, in fact, those incentives should naturally be built into these faith-based organizations. I'm also concerned about possible conflicts of interest with various faiths. I wouldn't want to be an unsheltered individual with Islamic beliefs and then end up like at the Eden Village, where a Christian-based faith is mandatory. So I can appreciate that there's this incentive to step up, but I also am concerned as to where that puts us in the future with conditional acceptance of housing. And so I would like really, on the other side of that, study outside of the religious-based, faith-based organizations for housing options.
Go ahead.
Thank you for this presentation. When you all were presenting on the faith communities, I thought about I looked up the cottages on Sixth Street, the Nehemiah Development Corporation. So some of this is happening in Bartlesville. Do you have a list of some of these faith communities that are interested in this work by district?
Don't have a list by district. I've only heard of a couple names that are interested in, or I think one currently in redevelopment. That's something that we could.
Yeah, for sure. Because when I saw the graph about acreage, I thought, well, is this just the church's acreage, like just the property that they own? Maybe it represents the sanctuary or the parking lot or whatever it is. Of all that acreage, how much of it is necessarily developable for
Yeah,
housing?
that's a
You know
great
what I'm saying?
Well, on the infrastructure, for sure.
Right, and I didn't want to take it.
We got a lot of land with no
That's
infrastructure.
That's right.
I was waiting on Councilor Bush to talk about that. And then also, one of the barriers that I've been hearing from developers, some of our utilities, just having to wait a long time to get power lines and things put in place.
That's what we're talking about here, it's infrastructure.
Yeah. So yeah, not just water and sewer, but like,
Yeah, I know.
so, all that. So, but it would love to, if, however you can, give me the list or whatever, I'd love to have conversations with those folks. And then also, I will text Brad Johnson about this Eden Village. I say, you should accept people from all faith or no faith backgrounds.
Well, I think they do, except that the mandatory services that the residents are supposed to go to are Christian-based.
Okay.
It's a Christian organization.
Yes, I get that. But we have multiple faiths in Tulsa, multiple faiths.
Didn't need housing. Yeah, that's
Thank
what-
you.
Thank you for
Thank you
your
very
time.
much.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation.
Okay, counselors, any other questions or comments? All right, item number 10, we're adjourned. Thank you.